What's up, people? Welcome back to another explanation video. This time I'm going to talk about the floors in depth, things to know, and what you will expect when you get to the higher levels and difficulty. So I'm going to share some informations and tips and stuff. So yeah, with that being said, let's do this. Okay, so there's a few points I want to talk about, and I already wrote down what I want to talk about, and I'm gonna go over each individual point. And I'm gonna start off with the NG Plus. Now there's three different versions of NG Plus. There's a normal, extreme, and supreme. Obviously, you can just by looking at the name, it's gonna get much more difficult the lower you go. Now the normal one, the only difficult part is the Bercoli's ending. Otherwise, you can get all the endings from the normal. You don't have to get any of the. If you just want the achievement, you don't have to get any. You don't have to do extreme or supreme. That's only if you want better. Well, obviously the end game gears, and then you'll be doing on a supreme run. Now the first thing is that I want to talk about is you can just unlock the supreme by doing the 100 days ending. That is the shortest ending. Once you get that ending, you can have Supreme unlock. You don't have to go through the story and get all the endings like the last two choices. That's the shortest way to get the Supreme unlock ASAP. Number two, there are time limits in the NG Plus. So that's one of the key points I want to mention first, is that you will be given 100 days and the time will actually count. So if you travel, resting, loading screen, story progress, and it will take time off. So you'll definitely want to complete if you are going for the last two endings, you must complete that within a certain amount of time. And no matter what you do, once you get to floor 80, even with the fastest ways to get up there, you will only have 10 days left because the story will take away all your days. So you only have 10 days left once you get to the floor 80s, and you will need most likely a couple days to finish the other two endings. So with that, keep that in mind. Like if you have less than that, you will have much lesser time. So yeah, just be careful because the time does matter in the Matricaria. If you have the time run out, then you will get the 100-day ending, so you won't be able to get the other endings. So yeah, that's one thing you must keep in mind, is that the days will continue to count no matter what you do in the NG Plus. Moving on, number three. So there are 4 different teams you have to control throughout the DLC playthrough. So obviously they require you to build your team in order to continue with the story. So you must build your team no matter what. If you don't build your team, you can't complete the DLC. It's really simple as that. Especially on the higher levels like extreme, supreme, you must build your team. So without that, yeah, you can't beat it. It's really just that simple. There's no other ways to it. It's just they make you do it, so you got to do it. Now team number 1, it's you, Alice, Yu-Gi-Oh, Rogu. Team number 2. Well, actually, they don't matter which order, but they'll have Asuna, Aldria, Liz, and Xenon. Team number 3, Lifa, Ronier, Tiza, and Silica. Now team number 4, Bercoli, Fanatio, Medina, and Sortolina. So these will be your 4 different teams that you have to build. But I won't talk about like how you will build them in this video, because that alone will be pretty much a whole video. So like I say, I'll talk about it in a separate video, or I will stream the entire playthrough in one video. That way it'll be easier there. So these are the 4 teams that you mainly need to focus on. So you can choose either one of them be your main DPS, and the other 3 deep, like a buffer, debuffer, whatever. So it's basically the same as your team, except your team will be a lot easier because obviously your main character. Now, there occasionally you are fighting some mobs with Rogu, so you won't always have 4 members on the same team. So that's gonna be the most challenge part. And once you fight with Rogu and take on a bunch of enemies. So this one you have to really be prepared because there's no other characters will help you, just you and Rogu. Now, Asuna's team will show up at floor 20s. So once you reach floor 20, there's like 20 mobs. You have to use her team to kill them. That's one of the progress part of the story. You must beat the 20 mobs with Asuna's team. Now, once you reach floor 40, that's where you have to use Bercoli to do the boss fight with mementos. So you have to control their team. So get that ready. And then last but not least, once you get to floor 60s, that's where Lifa's team will show up, and you will have to fight a bunch of mobs with Lifa's team. So get her team ready. So other than that, yeah, that's pretty much how like 4 different teams will be split up into the floors once you reach a certain part of the certain part of progression. And yeah, be sure prepare them before you're going up. Like I mentioned many times, if you don't, you can't beat it. So you must take your time, and it does take a lot of preparations for it. Number 4. Now we'll talk about the last point is the bosses. Now the bosses are very difficult. Depends on what level you're doing, especially the Bercoli's fight in the beginning. Even on the normal, there will be a lot of people struggling because it is actually quite difficult. You must get some gears to get that ending, because all of that, like even in normal, this is still gonna be the hardest ending to get because you don't have no teammates. It's just by yourself. And moving on, the actual where you want to get the swords, the 5-star sword, like the nice guy blade and the blue rose. Those kind of you must beat Supreme, the final boss, either floor 100 to get the nice guide, and beat floor 2 or 1. I mean, to get the blue rose. So neither one of them is easy. So I remember somebody asked me what would be the skill from 1 to 10. I put it 10 because for majority of the people that actually wants to get there, it's almost not possible. I'm not gonna lie, it's almost not possible for majority of the players that actually do the story, like wants to get the sword. Like you really have to prepare it. I already did so many runs for the Supreme, so I already knew what kind of mechanics. So even if I set up my teams and going up there so many times, and I still find it a little pretty challenging. It's not like the boss fight itself. It's your team to get you up there. It is the hardest part sometimes, but yeah, from experience, I wouldn't say the endings are easy. Now the Bercoli's one on Supreme, that's gonna be the hardest one out of all of them. Like you have to beat Robin 1-on-1 to get that 5-star axe for Roku. So I'm still preparing that one before I take him on, and that might be the last one that I need to get. So just be aware that if you just want to do the story to get the achievement, just do it on the easiest. But if you want to get the sword, you're gonna need to prepare a lot, like grind a lot, farm a lot. So the minimums you will need probably to help you get up there, it's those new 1-star gears, like drop from Divine Beast, or like the level 900 Divine Beast, or the level 900 plus Ancient Apostle. If you just use regular gears to get up there, it's not gonna work. It's really simple. It's not gonna work. Like, yeah, I mean, you can probably beat it, but it'll be extremely slow. Like, even with the plus 50 gears, it's not enough. Especially for the Robin's fight. And neither one of the Robins fight, like the 100 floor or like floor like 1. It's very very difficult. Like literally with plus 50 galactic jewel, both of them, you're not most likely not enough DPS. So recommendations are you will need the stainless steel, the SP version of it, before taking on neither one, like floor 100 or the other ending. So those are the bosses endings because they are the hardest thing in this game for majority of players, but not for me, to be honest. Like because like I say, I know what most people who play this game came from, and I know it's gonna be difficult for them. So I would just say that for a lot of casual players, you can't get the sword. It's really that simple. Unless you use cheats, that's the only way you can get the sword for the casual players, is by doing so. But if you do that, I mean, there's no point in playing. Like I say, because it's just, I mean, you can just get it just by doing so. I mean, what is the point? I'm not going to discuss that because I don't really like talk about that modded stuff too much. Now, even if you have these gears, and it's still going to be quite difficult because you have to study like how the bosses like moves. Now Robin has 4 different phases, like on Supreme, like the actual ending, not just Supreme. But the first phase, you have to get him, you'll fight him, and you have to get his HP to 10%, and then he goes up level 999. That's the hardest phase you have to fight. You have 1 minute, or more like 50 seconds. You have that amount of time to drop his HP down to 70% to proceed the next phase. So if you don't succeed in that 50 seconds, you will get the normal ending. So you cannot get the sword anymore. So I recommend people save before you go into the final fight. Now, if you get the second phase done and then the third phase, you have to drop him to 40 to 50% HP in 5 minutes. And then the last phase, no time limit. Just beat him. He will have full HP and stuff. Now the accuracy requirement is a bit ridiculous because back then I didn't have the nice guy sword, but yeah, you're probably gonna need about 1900 to 2000 accuracy, maybe. I don't know where that range is at, but I was still missing at 1800. So yeah, so the Zen Fighter is definitely recommended. And other than that, yeah, the other ending is much easier with the blue rose because you only need to fight in 3 phases. If you can beat the floor 100, you can beat the blue rose one, because all you got to do is it's exactly the same 3 phases, except the third one. All you got to do is drop his HP to 50%. You win the fight, and you get the sword. That's about it. Like Bercoli's fight is gonna be the hardest. I'll be working on that whenever I'm done upgrading my stuff. And that's pretty much it for the explanation video for the floors in depth. Now, like I say, you really have to prepare if you want to go to Extreme and Supreme, because, like I say, it's not possible if you don't prepare your team. So yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoy it. Until next time.